looking for educational ideas. And I love the idea of we are all human.
Super. Thank you so much, Bill, for being the first person to volunteer in front of 250 people. Great. Awesome. So I told you guys earlier that this is going to be very different. This is not your typical Zoom or webinar. You know, this is an engaging experience. So we're going to jump into it and around changing minds, around systematic perspective that were infused in people's being through generations and generations. And we think we can just change it by the external perspectives. And we forget about the systematic construct that's been infused in people's perspective and mindset, that's infused into media, storytelling, representation, beauty. So my goal in this presentation is to look at the internal, the inner being of what influences how we see one another and how we treat one another manifested. So it goes back to the roots of, oh, what America was. But they forget that what America was during that time that shaped American values also discredited an entire human population. So when we talk about going back to the root in the tradition of American values, what are we actually talking about? So in my work, I focus on intention. Because for most of us, that's where we tend to go. Here's my intention. This is who I am as a person. This is how I show up. This is how I want to be. So my question to you is, how are you going to bring your positive intention to life in order to make an impact? Because if you're grounded by your intention, which your intention is, it's defined by who you are, right? Your intention is my being, you know, the nature of essence of a person, right? That's your being. If your being is influencing your intention, how is your intention going to manifest externally in order to make an impact? And that impact is only measured by your doing. Confirmation bias is when people tend to listen more often to information that confirms the beliefs they already have. The second one is hindsight bias. That's the tendency of people to see events, even random ones, as more predictable than they are. So this tendency to look back on events and believe that we knew it all along. You hear this all the time. Well, why can't just black people just get it together, right? Like slavery happened so long ago. You know, they can just succeed, right? They can just work like everyone else have worked and be able to make it happen. You know, maybe there is something genetically wrong with him. We hear people have this perspective. People have this opinions. False-Consensus Effect. Overestimate how much other people agree with your own belief, behaviors, attitude, and value. Believing that other people are just like us is good for our self-esteem. But then this can lead people to incorrect think that everyone else agrees with them. Overvaluing your own opinions, finding everybody else that aligns with you. And this is what makes the social media algorithm so powerful and dangerous. Because the belief of everyone else believing in what you believe in doesn't create the space for us to confront, why do we feel this way? Even when other people are saying, hey, you know what, like your point of view on that and how you show up, it's definitely holding me back. It's definitely treating me this way. And this is more around physical attractiveness, stereotyping. We tend to lean towards what we consider to be beautiful as good. So just because something is beautiful, automatically, especially when we're associating it to human being, automatically we think that that person can never do wrong. And that person is like the best at everything. And the problem with this is how we define beauty impacts how we treat others. What can we do about it? We have an opportunity to be able to be aware of the moving parts that's happening internally that influences how we see the world and we behave within ourselves. And then we behave within others. It doesn't mean that we're going to be perfect. A lot of the constructs that we've spoken about today is part of the deeper root of who we are, and so many different influences has gone to it based on our family background, our heritage, our community that we live in, our education, all of that. But the opportunity is to be able to put a pause and confront some of the internal perspectives that we have in order to see how does it actually play out and how does it impact those who are around us on a whole, or how we see others. And the only way for you to know how you're showing up is impacting others is by having relationships, cross-cultural relationship and cross experiences, and your ability to actually be able to listen and receive genuine feedback around how you're showing up. If you tune yourself out, you close yourself out, and you go back to some of the characteristic of behaviors of biases, then you're never going to be able to transform your inner being of how you treat others. Because a lot of times we view what's happening externally as, oh, that person did that. Oh, that was them. I would never do that. But we forget that we all have our own sensitivity spots that allows us to allow our biases to take over because of the walls that we put up. So the opportunity here is that to be able to neutralize yourself. And a lot of people are afraid that when they neutralize themselves, it means they become weak and they're more receptive to be hurt or be vulnerable. But in the process to doing that, you're treating others based on your own perceived notions. And some of us, we might not even think that we are engaging at that level because we're so far away from certain groups, or those certain groups don't live in our community. But we forget that it plays out in how we've raised our children and the inner circles that we have, maybe a joke that we might throw, or maybe an opportunity shows up where we're about to engage on something, or we're about to hire someone. So I come back to this. Your being and your doing is the root of where the changes occurs, because the being is your mindset, and what you do is the impact that you can make